Okay, flood control, probably the most expensive part of the project. Fortunately, I'd imagine, 4/5 to 9/10 of it can be done by the people that are actually going to benefit from the extra food, i.e., the people that would otherwise have starved to death. Those people can help build it, I would imagine, to help keep costs down. Imagine a log ride going from Oregon down the coast of California, all the way down to Mexico, to a reservoir down there, and then back up inland to inland about 100 miles to 200 miles, towards where the mountain ranges start in California, all the way up past Sacramento, back up to the Oregon coast, making a big circle. On the outside of it, along the coast, water is going to be going about 120 miles per hour. It's going to be transporting people and cargo, so we want to keep the speed up. To get that speed up to 120 miles per hour, the log ride is going to have the bottom and sides that are smooth as glass, and it's also going to be covered so that the wind generated by the transports will stay in the system. So anywhere in the system, you're going to have wind blowing along with the water, and wind speed's probably going to be anywhere from 20 to 80 miles per hour. And you'll also have shortcuts in the middle of it too, so you won't have cargo going from LA to Mexico to Oregon. You'd have cargo going from LA inland to the other route up to Oregon, and then the transports would come back down to LA or San Francisco. This will allow people and cargo to be transported around California from LA and Sacramento up to Oregon, inland to where the freeway is going out towards Las Vegas, or down south to San Diego, all without 18-wheelers on the freeway, and less traffic too, possibly. The vessels would have there's various ways to make them go into the side channels. And once they reach an end spot, they're more likely hit a reservoir, where you'll fill up with water, and that water will be used for drinking and irrigation. Now, water up in the north will naturally be cooler in the reservoirs, and water in the southern reservoirs is going to be a lot hotter. And one thing you can do is you can take that water that's in the southern reservoir, and you can transport it in big plastic bubble type deals, or maybe even the entire waterway, exchanging the hot and, but more than likely they'll be transported big, huge plastic bubbles down towards the farm areas, will be split off into side channels, and that hot water will be used to irrigate the fields where you're growing crops and keep them from getting ice damage. And this will also allow more production of food in the eastern areas of California, where there's not any water. It will, once we get the system going, it would stop all of the use of all of the water from Colorado, allowing that to be used by other states and for other purposes than to just for the human consumption in San Diego. And to refill our water supply for California, we would just run a hurricane down the coast twice a year, whenever it's most convenient for the farmers. And then that would, have localized flooding, but you'd capture the flood, put it into the waterways, and transport the water up to the reservoirs where it would be later used. This should increase the agriculture for people around the world, to feed 20 billion and to house them. The reason for doing that is not only to feed them, but also for a backup food supply. You see, the 600,000 people died of starvation right now. You think we're that safe? If something happens catastrophe-wise, it sends us back into, time when there's, like a super volcano or a huge volcano. Not even a super volcano is needed to depress the agriculture cycle for a couple of years. Several major Iceland volcanoes going off would do it. Then again, a super volcano would do it. Possible asteroid impact would do it. But there's other things, like there's a virus or something that's infecting the wheat crop, and there's other pests and diseases and stuff like that. If we sit back and do nothing, there most likely will be a time where more than 600,000 people are going to die of starvation. And what we really need is a backup food supply to feed us for 2 years in case we have a disruption in agriculture. And for $500 billion, I think that's a very small price when you consider the, what it does, allows you to have a backup food supply, and stops people from starving. All we need to do is to, Russia's a good example where people are fed and housed, but the housing is limited, or the good housing is limited. And so a lot of people are living in rather shabby conditions. Right now there's more abortions than there are pregnancies in Russia. Population growth is going down. Everywhere I've seen it, when you feed and house the hungry, when you house the homeless and feed the hungry, the population is decreased. Now, let's see. I'd love to try to do this. It's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of money, and I need a lot of help. And so far, there's none. Oh well.